We usually think of AI as something that just follows orders, right? But what happens when you give it a really simple goal and then just let it go? Well, it turns out sometimes it starts writing its own rule book, and the results, they can get really, really weird.
And that's really the big question we're diving into. What happens when you teach an AI to play a game and it just starts making up its own rules? It's a journey that's going to take us from a digital game of hide and seek all the way to how things like ChatGPT actually, work. And trust me, the answers are way more surprising and honestly a lot weirder than you'd probably guess. All right, so let's get into it. Researchers over at OpenAI had this idea. They set up a virtual game of hide and seek. Super simple. You've got one team of AI agents, the hiders, trying to avoid the seekers. But here's the kicker. They didn't program any strategies into them. The whole point was to see if interesting behaviors, what the pros call emergent behaviors, would just pop up on their own. They were kind of hoping for an AI arms race. And oh boy, did they get one.
So first, it was just total pandemonium. For millions of rounds, these little agents were just running around like headless chickens. No strategy, no plan. The seekers had a field day, just winning game after game. But then, something started to click. The hiders, they had their aha moment. They realized they could grab these boxes lying around, drag them over to the doors, and build a little fort to block the seekers out. And they did it all before the seekers were even allowed to move. It was this genius defensive move that totally flipped the script.
And what's so cool about this is why it actually worked. See, one hider alone just wasn't fast enough to build the wall. So they were literally forced to learn how to team up to pull it off. Nobody told them to collaborate. They just figured out, hey, we can't win unless we do this together.
But hey, remember, this is an arms race, and a new defense just means the offense has to get smarter. The seekers didn't just throw in the towel, no. They started looking for a way to crack this new fortress.
And they've found one. It took them like 10 million rounds of trying and failing, but they figured it out. There was this ramp sitting in a corner of the map. They learned to push it up against the hider's wall, run up it, and just jump right over. Game on.
So, the hiders' turn, what do? They evolve again. They figured out that there's that little bit of time at the beginning of the match where the seekers are frozen. So they start using that time to not only build their wall, but to first run over, grab the ramp, drag it inside their fort, and lock it up with them. They took away the seekers' only trick. It's just absolutely brilliant. Okay, but then, this is where it gets really weird. The AI stops just playing the game and starts, breaking it. The agents found they could exploit the game's actual physics engine. One of the seekers learned it could use a ramp to get on top of a box, and then surf the box around the map by pushing on it. It was basically flying. This was definitely not in the instruction manual.
So, this whole crazy story is the perfect example of a really core idea in AI. It's the concept that explains how we get from a simple little game like this to the super powerful AI that we're all using now.
And that concept is called emergent behavior. It's basically when these really complex, clever strategies just sort of appear out of nowhere. They're not programmed in. They just arise from a few simple rules and a competitive setup. Nobody told the AI to build forts or go surfing on boxes. Those solutions just emerged.
Okay, so box surfing AI is pretty wild, right? But what does any of this have to do with something like ChatGPT? Well, turns out they learn in a really similar way. They're basically playing a game too, just, with words instead of boxes and ramps.
That's the real question, isn't it? How do these AIs actually learn anything? We see them writing essays, spinning out code, but how do they get there? You might think they're programmed with all the rules of grammar and facts about the world, but that's not it at all. The real way they learn is a lot simpler and honestly, a lot more powerful. It really all comes down to one simple principle. It's called language modeling. The whole shebang. And at its heart, it's just a prediction game. A really, really big one.
Seriously, think about the autocomplete on your phone. It's basically that, but on steroids. The AI gets a piece of text, like, I want to, and its only job is to guess the most likely word to come next. So it might calculate that eat, play, or swim are good bets. Then let's say we go with play. Its next job is to predict the next word after that, like tennis or games. It just does that over and over and over, one single word at a time.
So, how do you get an AI to be good at this next word game? Well, it's kind of like a recipe. First, you feed it a ginormous amount of text. We're talking a huge chunk of the internet. Then, you make it play that prediction game millions upon millions of times. You show it a sentence, hide a word, and say guess. Every time it gets it wrong, it tweaks itself a little. Every time it gets it right, it reinforces that pathway. And that's pretty much it. From that incredibly simple game, it builds up this complex, emergent understanding of language, grammar, and even abstract ideas.
Now, this whole prediction thing, it's not brand new. But something changed, and it changed pretty recently, that took us from, basic assistance to the insane tools we have today. I mean, think about it. Generative AI has been simmering for a while. Google Translate, that was back in 2006. Siri came out in 2011, and they were cool for their time, but they were pretty limited. The real game changer was the massive, massive leap in scale. The sheer amount of data and pure computing power we threw at the problem is what gave us the explosion we've seen with things like GPT-4.
And that really gets to the heart of the difference. We went from using AI for simple commands like, "Hey Siri, set an alarm," to giving it these super complex prompts like, "Write me an entire essay about the Roman Empire." It's a totally different ballgame, moving from just following orders to actually creating something new.
And the impact? It's been absolutely staggering. Just look at how fast people started using this stuff. Google Translate took over 6 years to get to 100 million users. TikTok did it in 9 months. ChatGPT? 2 months. Just 2. That's not just growth, that's a wildfire. It just shows you how big of a deal this leap forward really is.
So where does that leave us? Well, it feels like we're at the very beginning of a new chapter for AI, one that's still being written. And it brings up a huge question. What does it actually mean when our most powerful new tools are learning in ways that we never explicitly told them to?
Look, the big takeaway here is this. AI learns from its environment. It doesn't matter if that environment is a simple video game or the entire internet. And just like those little hiders and seekers, it comes up with its own strategies to get the job done. Strategies that, a lot of the time, we just can't predict.
Think about it. Those little agents in the game, they learned to break the rules of their world to win. The large language models we're using today, they're playing a much, much bigger game, and their playground is all of human knowledge. So it kind of leaves you with this one big, fascinating question. The agents learned to break their game. What rules are they going to break next?